Mark Windows for Windows on the World live every Sunday 9 to 11 p.m. GMT. Check out our archive and program stream at windowsontheworld.net.
Welcome to Windows on the World. Yes, it's Sunday night and we're back. I'm with Sandy Adams. Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Mark. Hi.
Here we are broadcasting from a real secret location this week. You even have to have a code to get in. That's true, isn't it?
You do. You have to code. It's all secret squirrel here.
Oh, yeah, very much so, because in our fight against tyranny, we have to go underground, folks. We cannot fight them face to face. We have to take a leaf out of their book.
Oh, yes. Yes, we're being a bit subversive.
Oh, definitely. Now, I want to announce some shows that we do in the bigger picture. You know, our talks that feature myself, Sandy, and Piers Corbyn. Well, on Sunday, the 15th of September, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Singleton Village Hall, 6 The Lays, Singleton, Chichester, West Sussex. We will be there doing the bigger picture. It's all on the website, windowsontheworld.net. I've just put them all up there, all the talks, the forthcoming talks. And you can contact Janie Still at sky.com. It's £10 for the whole day. Get in touch with Janie. That's Janie, JANIESTILL at sky.com. Now, this was after the initial booking was cancelled by a charitable trust. And more on that in the weeks to come, because I've actually approached their trustees, as this was a public interest event and goes along directly with their charitable objectives. So, yes, we're finding that this is happening quite a lot. Well, you know, comparatively, it's happened to quite a lot of people, hasn't it, recently?
It has. There's a lot of kind of shutdown of free speech going on, and this is all part of it, yeah.
It certainly is. And the next one we have after the 15th of September is the 21st of September in Saffron Walden, which is in Essex, and that's 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Hey, there's free parking there, and it's at Debden Village Hall. And there's free parking again in the surrounding roads, so we're really fighting Agenda 21 up there.
Yeah. Bring your cars, lots of them.
There's also a nice little Indian restaurant there, and there's the Plough Public House. Light refreshments will be available in the Village Hall. Please email debdenbiggerpicture@gmail.com for further information. Of course, it's all on the website. And there's an Eventbrite page for that as well, which you can pre-book. So do pre-book if you can for our bigger picture in Debden. Saturday, 5th of October, we're in Cheltenham, 12 till 6 p.m. Cheltenham Bowling Club, Suffolk Square, Cheltenham GL52DX. That's Gwyn who booked that, who met us at the Swindon bigger picture. And looking forward to that one. Should be good. Saturday, the 12th of October, we're at St Dogmiles in Pembrokeshire. And more information on that when I get it, because I haven't got the address to hand. Also, there's a really good website I wanted to tell you all about. If you're into the sort of infiltration of movements and how it's done, obviously we've covered this a lot in the past, but there's a website called Greenwash7, the number 7, Greenwash7 at wixsite.com. That's Wixsite, WIXSITE.com. Very interesting stuff on there for those who are interested in how the protest movement has been taken over. In other words, the globalists need the anti-globalists to implement their policies, and this is sort of how they do it. They control the narrative of public opinion wherever they can. Well, there'll be more to come in future shows on the law system as well, and I am doing a talk at New Horizons in Lytham St Anne's on the 14th of October, basically about how truth and facts are contrary to the current post-truth world, like the role of natural law in combating this sort of now entirely corrupted and ever more controlling system can bring remedy. I'm going to share with you some of the victories I've had in courts over the years, and also some of the administration that you can get into with public and private bodies, which may actually get you out of any trouble that they think they can get you into. I'm going to share some experiences, insights, and most importantly, solutions into what's going on in that particular talk. But yes, as we are faced with a more remote authority and an increasing technocracy, removing as much remedy as is possible, we do actually still have remedies within the system. And this is actually the most important thing. There's a legal maxim that states ignorance of the law is no excuse. However, we now have ignorance of reality, where opinion and belief are more important than fact. The system is now so corrupted that evidence is routinely ignored, destroyed, and kept out of court. So from the golden rule of law to the administrative maritime law, the poor laws to council tax, and the ever increasing creation of debt, and how the court system is unjust and how it became that way. We're also going to look at the liabilities of the person and, most importantly, remedies in law. A natural law which is based on observable truth. Now, you know a bit about this, don't you, Sandy? You've actually had some interactions with authorities over the years, and that's, in a way, how you got into this kind of way of looking at things, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, which one do you mean? I think I've had lots of.
Well, I think it came from the lawful or awful rebellion lawful kind of rebellion, thing. That's a bit of an eye opener, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's quite interesting if you look at how the whole of the lawful rebellion is based on the fact that the Queen agreed to the EU, which is actually giving over her power to a foreign. To a foreign power, giving her sovereignty to a foreign power. And that's what, I got very interested in all that. And when, a lot of people went through the process of being able to withdraw your support for a government that is actually in treason. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it real or is it treason? Teardrop explodes, 1983, I think.
You had to do that, didn't you, Mark?
Had to do that, yeah.
But I mean, it is really fascinating. And funny enough, I was listening to something today where I think it was in 2010, a whole load of people went with loads of evidence to prove that the EU is actually a takeover bid of this country, and that they were actually sort of going to police stations saying that a crime had been committed. And a lot of people, did go to police stations. I think someone did it in Somerset when I was...
And this is from Per in Sweden, and it has been confirmed from several sources now. 14 activists from Greta-sponsored Climate Network have been detained by police. Now, as Greta is off on her yacht and her entourage have been increasing their carbon footprints, the climate justice movement has been struck a blow by the wicked establishment. And this time it's actually quite good. Malmo police in Saturday evening detained 14 activists from the extreme left-wing climate organisation Extinction Rebellion. The activists had chained themselves to a lorry in order to block traffic, which is, of course, obstructing the highway, criminal offence. This action took place outside the Malmo Opera House and blocked all traffic in the area. It's about activists who have been disrupting public order by chaining themselves to a lorry, said the police, and they had been placed in a position basically to block traffic. That was the Malmo police put that on their Facebook page. A man born in the year 2000 has been cited for failure to heed directives from public order police. Extinction Rebellion recently came into the spotlight, it says here, when Greta Thunberg, dressed in an Antifa T-shirt, collected money for the organisation. I like the way that they're linking this 16-year-old to this terror group now,
exactly.
Which is obviously...
about time.
Which is part, yes. So, 2019, yes, it's the year of revelation equals indoctrination. I decided that earlier on and think it's true. The apocalypse,
Sorry,
though...
are you rewriting the Bible here?
No, I'm talking about generally. I mean, the Bible was a couple of thousand years old, wasn't it?
Oh, right, yeah, remind me.
No, I said 2019, the year of revelation
I
equals
beg your
indoctrination. I'm not talking about the book of Revelation.
Oh, good,
we
good.
haven't got time for that, Sandy. We've only got 50 minutes.
Say, it'd take a while, wouldn't
Well,
it?
so let's talk about apocalyptic cults. Now, as the world goes from the destructive Kali Yuga into the age of navel-gazing and unicorn consciousness. We look at just what this means to the future of the planet. So tonight, we examine the age of illusion. So let's start with doomsday predictions. Apocalyptic cults have a habit of surviving the predicted apocalypse and then using its failure to materialize as a belief that they have averted it.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
This works particularly well in today's post-truth world, where the apocalypse is not only imaginary, but its possible date cannot be accurately predicted either. In other words, the climate emergency, right? So the failure of the forthcoming apocalypse to materialize then reinforces the cult, even though the original premise has been proven to be a lie. The indoctrinees must be truly special because they were saved. So in the world of doomsday cults, both fashionable and not so fashionable, the human race seems remarkably susceptible to the rumours and speculation about their forthcoming demise. Even though their rulers openly talk about getting rid of them, the fully indoctrinated don't seem to think it's a bad idea. Have you noticed this?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost as though there's always it's making a constant enemy, because that's what apocalypses are all about. You've got to have something to worry about and to believe that it's going to happen, a doomsday scenario.
Absolutely. But this rather undermines the theory of natural selection, as most of these people who think their demise is a good idea also believe themselves to be mentally competent. Can you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
This is a great example of the phrase cognitive dissonance, or to put it more simply, stupidity. Well, along with the end of the world, there is also the talk of an awakening. Now, this is the other thing that happens, right? Usually by those who stare at their navels and avoid reality, which they deem to be too challenging or just too negative to deal with. Now, do you remember the 2012 phenomenon? It was meant to be the opening of a new gateway. Well, it came and went. One of the main culprits in pushing the apocalypse was someone called Patrick Gerald. He said a very high sunspot is expected in 2012. When that happens, a gigantic, gargantuan solar flare will be thrown to the Earth, and that will destroy our civilization. Has he pulled his head out of the sand yet? He's probably buried it.
There were so many. There was going to be an alien invasion or fake one. There was all sorts of things that were going to happen.
I know. Have you noticed that the people who propagate this nonsense, they seem to have more front than Tesco? You know what I mean? It's like they don't really care that it don't come true.
There was going to be this polar shift. There was going to be so many different things.
Yeah, but when we concentrated on 2012, right, we averted it. You know, we averted the whole thing with the help of the Mayans and the elders, right? But what followed was a mountain of loosely associated stories which would be tied in with the extinction of illusion and the appearance of truth, or something along those lines. I did buy the book, the 2012 book, but there wasn't any substance to any of the predictions even at the time. Now, the Mayans of South America got the blame for that one, when in fact it was the industry of New Agers and rumour mill merchants who made it famous. So propaganda works well with doomsday and redemption cults, yet one of the pushers of the 2012 upheaval did state some truth, that the Earth's magnetism is falling, which it is, and the Schumann resonance, the measurement of the Earth's innate electrical energy field, is rising. Yet this real phenomenon was interpreted by some of these 2012 cult members as a sign that time was speeding up, which actually it is. It's the way we imbibe time within ourselves, which it just appears to be happening, and also that the truth would become more obvious as the Earth's electrical vibration was rising, when in fact, in real terms, the opposite of what was predicted has happened, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really funny. The awakening has actually had the opposite effect.
Well, most people are asleep, aren't they? They're watching their TVs or navel gazing, aren't they?
Yeah. The population seemed to be just as, if not even more, susceptible to spouting and believing rubbish. But interestingly, while December 21st, 2012 was merely or allegedly the last known date on the Mayan calendar, there's no mention of any catastrophe in any of the Mayan civilization, right? No. So they never said anything was going to end.
I think there was something they mentioned, lifting the veil, that the veil would be lifted, whatever that means. I do remember reading quite a lot about the Mayan calendar and about sort of prophecies, and there was a Star Kachina being visible in the sky, and there was the lifting of the veil. I think that's all they called it.
Yes.
Really. Which is happening now anyway. The veil is being lifted. If they wanted that one to come true, it's happening.
Well, it is on this radio station, so we're living proof that the Mayan elders are in touch with Windows on the World, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yes.
But don't let that get in the way of a gateway into a new consciousness. Just like then, now we have the same problem. People misrepresenting even the most basic facts. Now, the main problem with the Mayans and their predictions was that they failed to predict their own demise. And more importantly, why did they not mention that even after 2012, The Guardian would still be published and were still even read? Now, surely if the Maya could predict the future, their priests would want to have warned the world about this. This is my central point
You would have thought.
of the main predictions. Now, old Mother Gaia must be so tired of the never-ending stupidity of her inhabitants, now especially those who pretend to be giving her attention, while they are indulging themselves in virtue signalling and under self-indoctrination and part of a hive mind of Dumb and Dumber, right? But the conspiracy hobbyists and those in the industry of the cult of self, including the men in hats with beards and sticks and the infamous elders of the tie-dye gang, managed to create a mini-industry about this 2012 cult. And instead of the truth becoming clearer, we get the most absurd lie in the form of, yes, 2019 Extinction Rebellion, the complete opposite of revelation. It is, in fact, indoctrination. Going into the sort of theme of the show, really. So, could anyone have predicted the future? Did Nostradamus predict that a PR company and a shut-off from reality 16-year-old would be implanted with the demonic master plan to scare the population into welcoming their own demise? This is a question, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think he mentioned that one, but if anyone has any references from Nostradamus to what happened with this teenager being put into the public spotlight to mislead the world's population, do let me know. So in our post-truth world, we now have this 16-year-old glove puppet who meets with the UN to instruct governments on how to tax and enslave their populations through already existing policy, a framework based on the biggest lie in human history. Now, where is the wisdom of the ancients now, Sandy? Have you got any idea?
I have no idea, Mark. I mean, all I can think is that this is the veil that will be lifted, because we'll reveal the truth, and we are today. This is it.
This is the revelation,
This
folks.
is the revelation.
This is the breaking of the mainstream narrative. This is They Live. This is a documentary. This is the future.
Yes.
The wisdom of the ancients.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who they were or what they were doing. The not-so-green Greta Thunberg, though, is the epitome of human susceptibility to the most basic propaganda. That's my point. A self-imposed and restricted worldview is a bonus to the Global Action Plan, and it all appeared to fall into their lap as if it was planned. What a coincidence. Is it synchronicity, do you think?
It's been planned for a long time, Mark. Yeah.
Really?
It's all
I didn't know
it's
this.
all being played out, yeah. Well, we know that now.
Well, like Greta, the believers of the climate doomsday cult are self-restricted and react only with emotional belief, just like all doomsday cult members should. So how could such an evil plan be allowed to happen? Well, if you like looking into belief systems, the most well-known deceiver who implements power and control is Satan. So when anyone with discernment looks into the eyes of Greta Thunberg, they see a power-hungry, obstinate little devil. When they look at the UN World Summit, they see the possessed empty vessels of blood-drained bureaucrats. Can you see where I'm going with this?
I am. Yes, I'm seeing this.
I'm getting into the doomsday feel. But in the Thunberg death cult, this, of course, gets the response, why do you hate Greta? Now, the propaganda works against the not-so-brain-dead every time, just as it's meant to. So nobody hates Greta Thunberg, right? They hate the manipulation of her.
Yeah.
But don't let that get in the way of politically correct virtue signalling. In other words, you can write things in The Guardian, say, why do white middle-aged men hate Greta Thunberg? Well, newsflash, they don't, Maybe some of them can see through it and you don't like it, but I'm sorry, that's the revelation. That's what the Mayans predicted.
So it's only white middle-aged men that hate Greta, is it?
Well, this is the meme, you see, because...
It's ridiculous.
I got a great one the other day. I had a go at one of these change agent organisations, and this woman said, yes, just looked at your profile, you're white and privileged. And I actually came back with a very good retort, because I think what she was doing was using the fact that she looked black in her picture to virtue signal that she was a minority. Well, newsflash, you're not. You're in the majority of idiots. So there's idiocracy crosses all racial types and boundaries. So, you can't get off on that. I'm sorry. Apocalyptic cults do not have a good track record, though. I was going to get onto this, right? It's quite funny. Jehovah's Witnesses seem to have survived them all. They've had loads of apocalypses.
They have, bless them. But they still knock on your door every Sunday.
They've had more apocalypses than anyone I know,
They just keep changing the date, don't they?
I know. I once got rid of a Jehovah's Witness, though, by stating that if there was an apocalypse and the only people left after the apocalypse were Jehovah's Witnesses, that I'd be quite happy to leave the planet with the rest of the unbelievers. Now, this worked a treat, and it resulted in the disappearance of the brainwashee and, of course, the child, which reluctantly accompanied it. But now, a child that they had used as a psychological tool. Now, this is exactly what they're doing here, isn't it?
Yeah,
Greta Thunberg.
yeah.
Well, she's not really a child. She just looks like one. She's 16, She's old enough to leave school, even though she doesn't go. But basically, it's a psychological tool, basically, to knock on your door and guilt trip you into listening to their extinction program. So it's kind of familiar, isn't it? So if there is an apocalypse, then a redemption after the apocalypse. In the case of Jehovah's Witnesses, will this mean that after the apocalypse, they will stop bothering people by getting children to knock on their doors? Do you think that'd happen?
Oh, who knows?
I've got a good one for you, Sandy.
Go on.
What's the difference between a Millwall supporter and a Jehovah's Witness?
Go on.
A Millwall supporter knocks on your door and tells you to F off. So on a lighter note, maybe the solution...
That's terrible. Sorry.
It's a revelation, Sandy.
It's a revelation.
So on a lighter note, maybe the solution to the enslavement of humanity lies with Millwall supporters, right? Now they could go door to door requesting that the public wake up to the scam being perpetrated on them and join the reality movement. And if they don't agree, they get told to F off on their own doorsteps, right? I'm just thinking that this might be a good idea. We should get some leaflets done the next time Millwall have a game, right? See if anyone wants to do it. Now that would genuinely create a PR apocalypse, and those that came to their senses would surely be saved. And as an extra incentive, right, the supporters of Millwall also suffer already under the Global Action Plan. Get this, I've been on their website today.
Mark, I think you've had too much sun, I really do today.
Well, I think this is a very important thing,
No, it is.
Sandy.
It's funny.
So, unfortunately, right, this is from the Millwall website. Unfortunately, the club has no car parking facilities for supporters getting into the den. They have to get there by public transport, basically. So, in other words, they're strictly controlled, and everything that goes in and out of their ground is under the Agenda 21 policies, but has been for about 20 years, but mainly probably due to the bad behaviour of their fans in the 70s and 80s,
so.
right?
I used to live near there.
Yeah,
it is quite,
Yeah.
You didn't go out on, match days.
Yeah. So even though I can't stand watching football, I'd love to see a friendly game, Millwall versus Extinction Rebellion,
Oh,
right?
no, that would be good.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go live to the den for the match. And centre forward Roger Hallam is down. It looks like that rather overzealous tackle by Millwall midfielder Teddy Londoner will see him out for the whole season. The medics have rushed in as Hallam is over-exaggerating the seriousness of the tackle. And now we see Gail Bradbrook, manager of the ER team, has run onto the pitch to give him some plant-based psychedelic medicine to take him away from reality for the rest of the season. So, it's a penalty to Extinction Rebellion. The Millwall fans are berating the referee for his decision. Teddy Londoner has been sent off, and Harry Champion is off the subs bench and warming up with a Victorian music hall classic. So, we have George Barder, incidentally, one of the directors of the holding company of ERFC, taking the penalty. And yes, he's missed the goal by a mile. No change there then. So it's all over for ER as Millwall have a home win, 33-0.
Yay!
So we're back now for a post-truth match analysis with climate change daydream believer Barry Lineker for a full report on what went wrong with ERFC as they lose 33-0 to Millwall. So over to you, Barry. Well, Mark, they weren't up to it. Too many injuries this season. The climate emergency has been affecting morale, and Gail Bradbrook just can't seem to live up to the high expectations of the fans. Several players have left this season. I think they need a hardline manager like Marino to take over. The die-ins at Waitrose have also had an impact on morale and fitness. Roger Hallam's poor performance, along with this disastrous penalty from Barder, are doing nothing to bring morale back to the fans this season. Brad Brooks said that after the psychedelics administered to Roger Hallam to take away the pain of his injury take effect, he will indeed be out of it for the whole season. Back to the studio. I don't know why. I just had to do it.
That's brilliant. Genius, Mark. Really good.
Well, you don't have to over-exaggerate,
Well,
Sandy.
no,
You know
it was
what I mean?
good. No, it was funny. It was
We've
funny.
got everything, funny enough, at Windows Towers. It was all going swimmingly for the last 3 days. And as usual, the power inverter at Windows Towers, because we're in the middle of a field, has decided to go down. But we are still broadcasting, you see.
We're doing all right.
Yes. Well, we've got vibrant communities, haven't we? We've got a sustainable future. What do we want? Hope, not hate. I'm just going to talk about this interview on BBC Hard Talk with Roger Hallam. So it was a victory for those who question the BBC, as they don't seem to question anyone who is part of their globalist action plan. It was just unbelievable, right? Hallam filled all the criteria of an insane cult leader with his laughably apocalyptic delusions. It does, however, suggest that he has been taken over by the evil entities who wish to take over the world. So if the evil spirit... This is my question, right? Next question. If the evil spirits of the Nephilim are out to take over the world and destroy their enemies, the human race, then why did they choose this,
Roger.
is it? Right?
Exactly.
Oh, I've just answered my own question, right? But on the ironically titled BBC show Hard Talk, he got away with saying 6 billion would be dying from wars and or starvation. Now, this could be the words of the UN or a Freemasonic insider.
Yeah.
So why did they choose this idiot? Why?
Yeah. It's almost as though it's self-destructing, which is great.
Yeah.
They've just chosen really stupid. I mean, like Gail Bradbrook making those. She talked about the psychedelics again the other day.
That's
didn't
right.
She?
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're trying to really freak everybody out and turn everybody against them. They're making a great job of it, really.
Well, it's very much basic propaganda and social engineering,
Yeah.
but it's kind of done on such a banal level that it does make you wonder, because even in the former Soviet Union, if you look at the tactics of the KGB, they were pretty sophisticated compared to this.
They were, yeah. Yeah, they're making huge cock-ups all the time.
But I think my central point here is if people like Roger Hallam were part of some kind of cargo or climate cult, which he's part of, this wouldn't be a problem. But the BBC are just enabling this mental illness.
Yeah,
Just exactly what they're doing, you know?
Yeah. Well, it seems that they're just useful idiots who just aren't intelligent enough, and they're just cocking up.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, that's it really. Being they can't actually argue any point whatsoever.
No.
But when you hear it, you think, but why would TV producers even have them on?
Yeah.
And this is the question, see, because they are the useful idiots of the United Nations.
Yeah, because some of the TV producers are stupid as well, I think, to be honest.
Well, there is that, obviously, yeah.
Honestly, I think everyone's a bit naive at the moment, and they don't understand the forces that are behind them. They really don't.
No. But the sword of truth is apparent this week. Did you know what happened? Now, Michael Mann, this is August 25th, which is today. Michael Mann, creator of the infamous global warming hockey stick, loses a lawsuit against climate skeptic, and he was ordered to pay the defendant's costs.
Oh, I'm so happy about this.
This
This
is Ball.
this is exactly what it pins on. This whole climate, gate nonsense that they created in the University of East Anglia, wasn't it, in the Hadley Research Centre?
Yes, but this was the hockey stick graph, which was used.
Yeah.
And of course, useful idiot Brian Cox threw it at Malcolm. What's his name? The fella from Australia. I'll get to that a bit later on. I've made a note of it, actually. We did a show about it, and we actually challenged Brian Cox to a public debate. And, of course, we never heard anything. But it says here, Tim Ball said, I remember this because we're having a lot of technical problems at Windows Towers tonight,
Sorry, I got it.
Tim Ball, this is our broadcaster now, it's falling over. Tim Ball, said that Mann should not be lecturing at Penn State. They said he should be in State Penn. And this is why, apparently, that he got threatened with legal action, which is incredibly funny, right? So, basically, it says Michael Mann, a climatologist at Penn State, right, hang on a minute, yes, Penn State, is the creator of the hockey stick graph that appears to show global temperatures taking a noticeable swing upward in the era when humanity has been burning fossil fuels and dumping CO2 in the atmosphere, it said. The graph was first published in 1998, it says here, prominently featured in the UN climate report and formed part of Al Gore's 2006 movie An Inconvenient Truth. The Canadian court issued its final ruling in favour of the dismissal motion that was filed in May 2019 by Dr. Tim Ball's lawyers. Now, this is a very interesting story, but Michael Mann has kind of said, well, that's not exactly what happened. Well, it may not be exactly what happened, but it certainly has put him in his place, because the arrogance of these people is kind of overwhelming. And basically, when we look at the whole history of this, we had the California climate what's it called? In California, there was a climate trial in California, which backfired in 2018. Now, none of this gets into the news, you see. No. It backfired on environmentalists from San Francisco and Oakland. And the district judge in the case was William Alsop, who was very cynical about the IPCC projections. Yeah. He said, well, instead of doom and gloom, it's just doom. You know, I think even he got fed up with it. But it was alleged by California State, San Francisco lobbyists, climate lobbyists, they alleged that 5 oil companies were in a conspiracy to cover up their products causing global warming. And they wanted to claim for costs for damage to their communities, right? And the psychological pain. Now, the thing is, their misunderstanding of the workings of the court are quite apparent here, because claiming for psychological pain as a group, which is part of a larger group called the human race, who haven't claimed for psychological pain under the same circumstances, is not going to get you anywhere in court. But it said top greenhouse polluters were not mentioned, right? China, Russia, Saudi Arabia and Iran. Yeah. And Oxford's physicist Miles Allen was caught out on his global warming graph, which did actually not show any global warming. You'd think they'd do some work before they went in, wouldn't you?
They'd do the homework, yeah. Ridiculous.
But oceanographer Gary Griggs, who was hired by the environmentalist groups, he talked about natural forces controlling climate, which was another own goal, right? Yeah. So the smoking gun that they had in court, which they were going to use, was an IPCC slide projection from 1995. It was from the Plant Protection Convention, and it was public information and didn't really say anything much about climate change that could actually sway the judge. But the trial was meant to be recorded as well, right? It was meant to be filmed, of course, because they wanted to film their victory and prove that the oil companies were funding the whole of our demise. And, of course, somebody forgot to turn the camera on, didn't they, when they found out they were losing? Oh, sorry, nothing to see here, move on. So the evidence has been lost in the ether forever, which is actually rather unfortunate, you know. But, that was the...
But it will go down in the court records, so there's still
I mean, I think people should look it up, you know. I think people should look it up.
I think it's worth publishing it, just get it viral on
Facebook.
Definitely,
yeah.
Because this as well, this thing with... you know, the hockey stick is really important as well, because the hockey stick is what they rely on to prove that global temperatures are going up.
Well, of course.
And, you know, we need to... I mean, there's always been a debate, because the whole climate gate, when all those emails went missing from the University of East Anglia and all the documents, it was all hacked. And people say that that's what Julian Assange is paying a big debt right now for. All that stuff which came out. So it's all big. It's big business and big money behind all this.
Yeah, and meanwhile at Windows Towers, we're still waiting for this narcissist glove puppet Brian Cox to debate with us. That's Windows on the World and Piers Corbyn over his support of man and the scientific fraud of climate change consensus. So Brian Cox will never debate publicly because he can't. He threw that graph at Malcolm Roberts. As though it was fact. And of course, he's a repeater. But he also thinks we went to the moon. Let's not get into that conspiracy theory tonight, shall we?
Best not.
No, best not to. But Dr. Mann lost his case because he refused to show in open court his R2 regression numbers, which means the working out, basically, behind this world-famous hockey stick graph. So in other words, he failed to produce any evidence. But Michael Mann issued his own statement. The dismissal involved the alleged exercise of a discretion on the court to dismiss a lawsuit for delay. I have an absolute right of appeal, said Mann. My lawyers will be reviewing the judgment and we will make a decision within 30 days. Look forward to that one. The provision in the court's order relating to costs, he says, does not mean that I will pay his legal fees. Well, let's see. Let's wait and see. But in the bigger picture, that's how the UNIPCC operates on projections, none of which have ever come true, which I think is the central point here. Now, the IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, informs policymakers, climate negotiations and other stakeholders. That's their job, right?
And they're not scientists, they're lobbyists.
That's right.
And policymakers. And they work for the United Nations, so they're going to spout anything that covers whatever they want to push out.
Yeah. So in other words, it controls the narrative of climate change and, more importantly, climate policy, and it has 3 working groups. Now, I don't think a lot of people know this. Well, Extinction Rebellion certainly don't, but they don't even know that their own foundation document is the SR15, Special Report 15 of the IPCC, and Extinction Rebellion's rather fantasy interpretation of that document has been derided by the author of the document itself. So we're getting into post-truth here, aren't we? But the IPCC has 3 working groups. One is the science basis, which is basically paid lobbyists like Michael Mann, that we're talking about. The second group is on impact and adaptation. Well, that's basically land grabbing and control of population. And the third group is mitigation, which is where the money is. It's a global industry which impacts on the lives, productivity and resources of countries through draconian policies and through projected fear porn. So this is not the first time that the climate con has been uncovered in court. So I think this is all really interesting, and people should look that up, this climate trial in San Francisco in 2018, because it's absolutely incredible that anything like this is never heard of again in the mainstream media.
It's buried.
It's never heard again.
Yeah.
So to reinforce the idiocracy coming from the world's most stupid people with university degrees, ironically, this next article, Sandy, is from New Scientist. It says, a co-founder of the Extinction Rebellion environmental movement has called for a mass ingestion of psychedelic substances in protest against the criminalisation of drugs. You see, my little satire was true.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. Well, it's all an illusion, isn't it, Sandy? It's all an illusion. So the UN must give seats to Extinction Rebellion, or would that be a bit too obvious? No, I don't think so. I can see them up there. They're already using Greta, aren't they? Say Greta.
Yeah.
So why not? But Gail, in her infinite wisdom, said, this is Gail Bradbrook, the founder of Extinction Rebellion. She said, I would support a mass civil disobedience where we take medicine to tell the state that they have absolutely no right to control our consciousness. Now, this is unbelievable, isn't it?
That's incredible.
Is the irony lost on you?
Yeah.
No, certainly not.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, so they're going to, as a way of rebelling against the state, they're going to get out of their heads.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what the state want you to do, you idiot.
Yeah, it's called the lostness of the mind.
Yes, the World Wilderness.
Wilderness Conference in 1992, they talk about this, and they want people to have a lostness of the mind because they want to control everyone. And this is exactly what they're doing.
How did Gail know about this? I don't know. Gail Bradbrook said in a press briefing as part of a breaking convention. So how the hell has she got the nerve to go to a consciousness event or a conference?
She has no conscience.
Called Breaking Convention.
Yeah.
How the hell has she ever broken convention? She's just a part of it. And it was a conference on psychedelics, because one of these people that founded Extinction Rebellion, who makes money out of these talks on psychedelics. In other words, it's just some bloody loafer who's come out of college and has spent his time going around festivals and taking drugs and now wants to make a living out of it, you know. I mean, what a joke, you know. But, you know, we're right-wing extremists, so what do we know, you know? Now something really depressing from Positive News,
Ooh,
right?
lovely. Can't wait.
It says, we meet some of the pioneering climate-savvy educators who are preparing children to help protect the planet.
Oh, is this the thing that happened on Blackheath Common?
No.
No.
Tell us about that.
No, there was someone sent this to me, and it was a clip of a convention that was going on. It was an Extinction Rebellion children's event that was going on Blackheath Common the other day, where children were literally being asked leading questions like, do you think it's better to walk to school or drive to school? And of course there were all these leading questions, and these children were sort of firing all these answers back, sort of parrot fashion, and they're going, well done. And it was just so creepy. It was really was child mind control. It was, to me, it was a form of abuse, actually, because it was so subversive and so awful. And yeah, they're getting our young and encouraging them to. Of course, kids are going to love striking, aren't they? They don't have to go to school, so it's being led by these people that really are pushing this agenda.
Yeah, well, when I was at school, climate strike would have been truancy, you see.
Yeah,
and they had a truancy officer to come and find you. I remember we used to go to this cafe to hide, and he actually, the truancy officer used to come in a cafe and get back to school. We had to keep finding new cafes to go to, you know. But that was in the swinging 80s, man, you know, or the 70s, late 70s, you know, man.
But yeah, it was a really creepy thing, you know, that this convention.
I thought it was really dreary, actually. I thought the people who were trying to do it was so dreary. Everyone in it looked bored. There was no animation going on. If you want to talk to kids, you have to keep the energy level high.
No, it was really boring. But the kids were still being indoctrinated.
Well, they'll all be future administrators in their own depressing lives, won't they? So
very sad.
Never mind. Yeah. But 4 young students, it says here, at Shaney School in Oxford, think not. What's this about? Have I missed a line? Yes, the debate has raised in recent months, is the climate crisis being given due prominence on school curriculums? That was what I should have sort of put in before. Well, actually, yes. I mean, you can't escape from it, can you?
No.
So you've got all these teachers who believe in it as well, but now they want to actually do a proper indoctrination programme. So the petition, this is a petition that went out from this school in Oxford. It says here, has since been signed by almost 82,000 people.
Wow.
Are there that many stupid people in Oxfordshire, though?
There must be.
There must be, yeah. If you think there is, well, if you think there is and you live there, let us know. It says here that though climate change is taught in science and geography lessons. Did you know this? Climate change, scam, is taught in science and geography lessons.
This is outrageous. This is the biggest lie of this century.
I know, but critics, Sandy, say that this isn't enough.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's not enough. But rather than waiting for the UK government to integrate the subject into the curriculum, teachers are taking matters into their own hands by enrolling in the United Nations Climate Change Teacher Academy. What have we been saying for the last 10 years? We were warning you about this.
Yeah.
The Climate Change Teachers Academy. I can't believe it. The new online course provides free training for primary and secondary school teachers, arming them with the knowledge they need to introduce climate change into other parts of the curriculum. So there's no escape now. One of these useful idiots says we don't have time to waste. Well, newsflash, you do every day of your lives, you know. But we can't wait for governments, it says, to pull their fingers out. We need to get on with it, said Melanie Harwood, whose company, Harwood Education, is helping to deliver the training programme in the UK. Of
course, she's on the gravy train. Fantastic. All common purpose NLP trained. Brilliant.
Oh, don't be so cynical, Sandy. Young children are far more vulnerable to climate-related disasters. How come they're more than anybody else? And associated health risks than any other social group. Isn't that a bit discriminatory?
Yeah, it's not very inclusive, is it?
It's not inclusive, it's not diverse, and it's not vibrant, and it's not clever.
No.
I know. I was vulnerable to climate at school, yeah. I was.
It was freezing, actually, when I used to go to school.
Well, exactly, but I would always dodge double games and outdoor activities when there was a climate emergency. It's raining, I'm not going out there in my shorts, and I'm off for the afternoon to get caught by the truancy officer in the local cafe.
Weirdly, when I was at school, they were talking about mini ice ages, and because it was so bloody cold.
Well, it was. I mean, I remember when I was about 2 years old, when there was a climate emergency, I was found in an unheated room, and it took both my parents to revive me, and they regretted it ever since.
Yes, I bet they did. So why were you in this room, Mark? Come on, do tell.
Well, I was in my cot, wasn't I?
Oh,
no, it was
right.
actually the bars of my prison, but my little prison, my little baby prison
Your
cell.
baby prison cell.
I was in my baby prison cell, and there was ice on the inside of the windows, and it was a climate emergency.
Oh, blimey.
Mini ice age, it was.
They had to thaw you out.
They did. They had mini ice ages in Manchester in those days, you know.
Yeah.
It killed off the dinosaurs, though. Quite good. Yeah, it says, though, we are... Yeah, hang on a minute. Oh, dear. We are having some technical issues here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And it's been quite disconcerting, but the show must go on. There's no business like snow business. So, yeah, let's get back to it. But, I mean, this is just incredible, isn't it? That you can get teachers basically going above their own government and saying, we're going to teach these kids what we want to teach them, you know. I mean, it is incredible, really.
Soon it'll be all, judged in the Ofsted. How good are you on climate change?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's not
good. But moving swiftly on, what else have we got here? It's been an interesting week, actually. I did a show on Tuesday, and I actually covered that climate thing with those children because I was so appalled when I looked at it.
Yeah.
But there's two issues going on there, yeah? There was how dull and dreary it was,
Yes.
And there was the sort of brainwashing programme.
Yeah, the brainwashing programme sort of really bothered me. But yes, it was dreary. It was really badly done. Really badly done. And the kids looked all bored, and they'd obviously be marched there by their parents.
Yeah, well, let's get back to this
there.
climate emergency that's happening in the schools. Rebecca Stacey from Castle Carrock Primary School in Cumbria was the first head teacher to graduate from the academy, which launched in April. Did you know about this?
No,
I'd heard about it, but I didn't know it was actually serious and they were going to do it. Stacey told Positive News that she was inspired to enrol by her students, who, like many young people, have become more engaged with environmental topics. Children, she says, are bringing it into the classroom, Stacey said. I didn't know much about climate change before. Now I'm much more able to think about it in the context of the curriculum and, importantly, answer questions that pupils might have. So basically, this is a full-on indoctrination programme, and the useful idiots have taken to it like fish to water. The academy course takes around 25 hours to complete and consists of 5 modules, considering the climate crisis through the prisms of gender, politics and health. Wait a minute, what's that got to do with the weather? Gender, politics and health. What the hell has that got to do with the weather?
Nothing.
It says among
this is
other
really,
topics.
Really creepy, actually.
Well, it's dumb as well.
Yeah.
Teachers get access to up-to-date UN research, I bet they do, as well as case studies to use in lessons. Well, how can there be case studies? Well, we've just given you 2. We've just given you 2 case studies to look at that have happened in court, where it's been found that it's lacking in evidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The science is not settled. And also, what do they do with a child who comes possibly from a family of what would be known as deniers? Would they sort of try and give them some kind of aversion therapy?
I think they'd report them to the local authorities,
They
Sandy.
probably would, and they'd probably be taken away from their parents.
And put with their climate-friendly family.
Yes.
Well, what's wrong with that? He's very cynical, aren't you? I don't know. I think your views are old-fashioned. And
They
frankly,
are
they're
probably a bit right-wing.
they're extreme right-wing.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, they're extreme right-wing. So everything the UN wants in one programme. It's amazing, isn't it, how they've done it? So, complete brainwashing, political correctness as a weapon, gender as a divide and rule strategy, and the target group are susceptible enough to be mentored straight into the programme. It's a totalitarian dream for the UN, but as UNESCO said, no one will be left behind. Now, I'm going to finish up with this one. Journalist stopped by US border agent for being part of fake news media. This is a kind of feel-good story, okay? The malignant effect this presidency has had, that's the Trump presidency, is absolutely chilling. James Dyer of Empire magazine says. Now, Empire magazine is just this rag that talks about Hollywood and films, right? And this is from the Independent US. A British journalist has said he was stopped at a US airport by a border agent who accused the writer of being part of the fake news media, a term regularly used by Donald Trump to attack media coverage he disapproves of. Now, Dyer is someone who spends his time talking about fantasies and propaganda from Hollywood. So, he's called James Dyer. He's the online editor-in-chief for Empire magazine. And he said he was questioned by the Customs and Border Protection agents after he displayed his journalist visa at Los Angeles International Airport Border Control. Now, this is really funny, right? So if you're a mainstream news journalist and you get stopped by the wrong border control agent, then they can refuse you entry into the country by saying that you're part of a fake news media. And basically, you're it's a bit like, I suppose, media action, BBC media action around the world. What should happen to them is they should be stopped at airports and imprisoned like that Nazanin, whatever her name was, Ratcliffe was, because what she was doing was training journalists in Iran. Well, doesn't Iran have its own journalists?
Yeah, exactly.
And if you look at BBC Media Action, this is absolutely a programme to take over the hearts and minds of other countries. It's a deeply insidious and vile organisation. So maybe this could set a precedent. Maybe that BBC journalists, so-called journalists, could be stopped when they're going into countries and immediately detained for years on end.
Yeah.
Well, do you think this is a solution?
Well, it could easily be.
I can see something positive coming out of it all.
Yeah.
But he said he wanted to know if I'd ever worked. This is James Dyer. He said, the border guard wanted me to know if I'd ever worked for CNN or MSNBC or other outlets that are spreading lies to the American people.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It's great, isn't it? Mr. Dyer tweeted of the incident on Thursday. He aggressively told me that journalists are liars and are attacking their democracy. I want this guy on the show.
Yeah.
Can we get hold of him?
Try.
Yes, this border control fella. We need true patriots like him, don't we? Really.
Exactly.
But CNN and MSNBC, it says here, are cable news channels which receive particular scorn from the president. Apparently, the only truth now comes from YouTube. No, it doesn't. This is where they've made a mistake here.
Yeah.
And the president. All this said under a CBP sign that says, "We are the face of our nation," and with a framed picture of a 45 staring down the effing Californian. Welcome to Trump's America, Mr. Dyer added. So I think what he's trying to say is that they're taking away my Fourth Amendment. They're taking away all my rights. Well, yeah, they should do. Because you're part of the problem, James Dyer from Empire magazine, spreading your trivia and your Hollywood crap. You are a subversive. Absolutely disgusting. So, yes, but before we finish the show, though, I would like to tell you again about our forthcoming shows. Sunday, 15th of September, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Singleton Village Hall, 6 The Lays, Singleton, Chichester, West Sussex. Look on the website. September 21st, Saffron Walden Village Hall, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's Saffron Walden in Essex. Saturday, October the 5th, Cheltenham, 12 till 6 p.m. Cheltenham Bowling Club, Suffolk Square, Cheltenham. Saturday, 12th of October, St Dogmiles, Pembrokeshire. More to be announced on that in the next few days. So, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I know I've rather dominated things tonight, Sandy.
That's all right. That's that's the way it is. I just turned up late,
Well, we've got to see a bit more professional, a bit more commitment.
I know, I know.
This is-
It's been a busy week for me, and I love the show, so it's really nice to be here and join in and say hi to everyone. Yeah.
Well, exactly.
And we're doing the shows, and that's great. We're gonna get a bit more presence there. It's really good, these shows, because we kind of network, don't we? Lots of people come, and it's good to meet everybody. Yeah,
we certainly do.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to get into chat at the moment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into chat after the show, because it's fantastic. We just keep broadcasting whatever happens. Laptop's gone down. We've got a backup to that.
in the middle of a field.
We literally are in the middle of a field. And it's incredible, isn't it? Technology is on our side, though.
Yes,
we're okay.
yes,
We still have the Windows broadcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank
and
you.
in the future, in the forthcoming weeks, I'm going to put some more lighter sections in. That was a bit of a tester tonight, but we have actually got some things coming up which will lighten the load a bit. And I think humour is a massive part of all this, because we are living in the post-truth world, and the times that we're living in are indeed absurd, and we need to turn it into the theatre of the absurd from our side, because the theatre of the absurd is on their side at the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're lifting the veil, as the Mayans said. That's what we're doing.
That's right. We predicted this. The wisdom of the elders is within us, ladies and gentlemen.
The truth.
That's right. And the truth will set us free.
It will.
Yes, truth from the Latin, ver, meaning something which is truthful. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was rather fraught getting through that, actually. I thought it was all going to be relaxing, you see, in the middle of nowhere.
You covered a lot of ground there, Mark. Fair dues.
I think we did, Sandy.
I think so.
We got through it. That's the way we do it. We're professionals, we're broadcasters,
We're moving
and that's just
forward.
what radio is all about. Moving forward, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all 56 genders and everyone else out there, please tune in on Sunday and look at the website. All of the forthcoming events are now on there, and more will be added. If you would like to put the bigger picture on in your area, please get in touch. If you've got stories, get in touch. And thanks to everyone who sent in the information, Per in Sweden, and everybody else who sent me stuff this week, and everyone who sends me stuff on Facebook Messenger. Very grateful for that. And we have international listeners who are constantly updating me with what's going on around the world. So that's great. We are becoming a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
And indeed, we do have the truth. So that's it. That's it from Windows on the World for tonight. See you next Sunday, and we will be back with plenty more information. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Join me, Mark Windows, for Windows on the World live every Sunday 9 to 11 p.m. GMT. Check out our archive and programme stream at windowsontheworld.net.